Hello and welcome back to coverage of Grand Prix Detroit. Gabby Sparks with Luis Scott Vargas in the booth, and we're underway on round 12. John Delano versus Ben Friedman. We have a matchup of John versus Abs and Company right here. Visser is a play for Ben, who's on the play, but John takes it down with a bolt.
Yeah, Marshall and I were just talking last round about how there aren't very many Jun decks, and the format is so much faster. But John Delano is one of the last two undefeateds. You know, this match is going to determine our last undefeated. He's 11-0 with his Jun deck.
Is there anything special about his Jun deck that maybe helps him in this kind of metagame where we've seen it's like mostly half Eldrazi at this point in the top 100?
It doesn't look like it's particularly different than a lot of different Jun decks. I mean, Jun decks are, two different Jun decks or two Jun decks are almost never exactly the same because there's so many individual card variations that you could play. But I mean, he's got Dark Confidant, Goblin Dark Dwellers, Scavenging Oozes, of course, Tarmogoyfs and Liliana's Lightning Bolts. So it looks like maybe he'd run into enough matchups where his interactive spells do what they want him to, or do what he wants them to do.
Yeah, like this Kolaghan's Command's going to take care of this Scavenging Ooze right here.
Yeah, he's getting a, this is the first 2-for-1 of the game. Killing a Scavenging Ooze and making Ben Friedman discard a card, that makes cards like the Court of Calling in Ben's hand a lot weaker just because that requires as many resources as you can get.
So Windswept Heath is a fetch for Ben, and a Kitchen Finks is the play for the turn.
Finks is good in this matchup. That's the sort of card you want. It's pretty resilient to Liliana and 1-for-1 removal. But as someone who's played a lot of the Obzon Company type decks against Jund type decks, you really don't want to see Dark Confidant. That's like one of the biggest threats. And the fact that John is playing a Jund list with Dark Confidant is unfortunate because John's deck is full of removal. Kolaghan's Commands, Lightning Bolts, Abrupt Decays, Terminates, Liliana's. But the Obzon Company deck has Collected Company, has Kitchen Finks, has Eternal Witnesses, and it has ways to get back into it, except Dark Confidant's a draw engine that Game 1, Ben doesn't have very many ways to interact with.
So Inquisition of Kozilek is going to take care of the Court of Calling, I think is what he pointed to.
Yeah, I would expect that to be the pick because a Fiend Hunter you can't cast and also doesn't have necessarily much to target is not the most threatening. And even if John does play a creature here and Ben draws a white land and Fiend Hunters it, actually, John has an awesome follow-up. He has a Damnation in his hand.
Oh.
So if Fiend Hunter removes the Scavenging Ooze, Damnation kills the Fiend Hunter and the Finks. Finks comes back, but Fiend Hunter then dies and the Ooze comes back into play. So it's a kind of funny interaction.
Yeah, so it looks like he's baiting him a little bit here. Ben's not going to take that bait. Going to go for Wall of Roots and pass back to John.
Yeah, had Ben drawn a fetch land, I think he might have played the Fiend Hunter, but just playing a Wall of Roots also plays into John's plan quite well. John even has a Lightning Bolt left, so John's in full control of this game. And the Kolaghan's Command was key here. Making Ben discard a land means that Ben can't actually even cast Collected Company once that Wall of Roots dies unless he draws a 4th land. It looks like he did, but it was still worth a try.
So fun fact about John Delano, he's actually used to be a professional paintball player, and he decided to give up on a couple things to try to get on the train a couple years ago. He's played on a couple of PTs since then, but still trying to break through and get on that gravy train.
Yeah, well, he's 11-0. He's definitely got a good start. Also, a professional paintball player. That's awesome. I don't know
sweet.
what that means exactly. Like, I guess I would imagine you're on a team and you compete in various tournaments, but that is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's very, very neat. So Fiend Hunter's a play for Ben, targeting that Scavenging Ooze.
And it's actually possible that you don't want to eat creatures with Ooze because you'd rather eat those creatures later and once the Ooze comes back and have the counters later.
When it's going to be bigger? I mean, like, when it comes back and it's in the battlefield and it gets bigger?
Right. But a reason to eat something like Viscera here now is you're actually going to see a decent amount of creatures, and maybe you don't want to, worry about mana inefficiency. But, yeah, John's thinking about it. He's thinking about leaving that Scavenging Ooze and Viscera here because he knows what this next turn is going to hold. He knows the Damnation is coming. And, indeed, he doesn't actually exile those creatures.
How much does that telegraph to Ben what's coming here?
Some. He might think that John wanted to leave his mana out for something. The fact that he didn't makes Ben suspicious, but Ben has no cards in his hand. And
yeah, there we go. So away they all go, but back comes the Scavenging Ooze. And, yeah, the Scavenging Ooze has things to eat in this graveyard at this point, so it is going to get bigger. So a draw is a land, an Overgrown Tomb. Oh, no, sorry, it's a Verdant Catacombs.
Yeah, and cycling the Canopy is kind of like a move of desperation, but Ben doesn't really have too much of a choice. That Ooze is going to be such a fast clock. Sometimes you see Scavenging Ooze chill as like a 2-2 or a 3-3, but this is going to be a 6-6 Ooze very quickly.
So crunch, crunch comes the Ooze.
Well, when it starts to attack, it's crunching because it's less than 5 power, but soon it's going to smash because it's going to grow to 5 power mid-combat.
So Viscera Seer goes away. And Scavenging Ooze is a 3/3 now.
Imagine Godless Shrine here, just because now Ben has access to black, white, green, green, which is kind of what his deck needs to cast all its variety of spells. Hey, Ben's not just dead here. He could draw Collected Company. Actually, Ben's drawn Merlira and Murderous Redcap. That's 2/3 of the combo. If John doesn't have an answer to either of them, then Ben could threaten a combo, except Scavenging Ooze does break up the combo, so that makes it even a little bit more difficult.
Also, John's deck, like the composition of his deck, is answers to something like this combo.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about the John decks.
Right, there's not many, like, you can add, you know, if John has like three or four random spells in his hand, there aren't very many that don't stop the combo. And oh, wow.
Wow, Dark Dwellers for John Delano takes care of the Melira. Another discard. Ben discards. I don't know what he discarded. Was
red cap.
Oh.
And that was just like the full 3-for-1. John ends up with a 4/4 menace.
Yeah, and Ben on his side of the battlefield, the Birds of Paradise.
Yeah, this is just a clinic. This is just John going, kill your creature, make you discard. Kill your creature, kill your creature. Damnation, kill all your creatures. Dark Dwellers, kill your creature, make you discard again. Ben's on 5 permanents versus John's 9 cards total, 10 cards total. And 2 of those cards happen to be 4/4s that one of which can even grow bigger.
It's cool seeing Dark Dwellers make its appearance here in Modern as well.
Yeah,
standard staple for sure.
Yeah, it's a standard staple. Like you said, it's a powerful card. John doesn't have a lot of copies of it. He's just got the one because it's so expensive, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah, John's attack puts Ben down to 3, and let's see. Windswept Teeth is not going to do it. John Delano takes the game 1-0. Wow, John was, I mean, how much does a deck like Ben's deck struggle to like very small cheap removal? It's pretty difficult for it to overcome, right?
Yeah, Ben has cards like Kitchen Finks and Collected Company that give him a little resilience. It's unfortunate that for Ben that John has 3 Scavenging Oozes because that really makes Ben's deck a lot weaker. Scavenging Ooze in play means Kitchen Finks and Redcap don't persist because you can eat them in response to trigger. They mean that the combo for that reason stops working as well. And they make Eternal Witness, which is one of Ben's prime card advantage engines, essentially stop functioning as long as John has mana up.
What do you think happens for these players post-board?
John gets to add a few more removal spells. I mean, he has Knight of Souls Betrayal, which I don't actually know if he wants to bring that in. That's going to depend on what his sideboard plan tends to be, because I like Dark Confidant a lot, and Knight of Souls Betrayal and Dark Confidant shouldn't really exist in the same deck. But Anger of the Gods is a good one. Anger is a good removal spell that could actually exile Finks permanently as long as there's not like a Viscera Seer out, though I guess they would just come back and get exiled. So either way, Anger of the Gods is going to get them. And so he's just getting some value. Nile Spellbomb perhaps as well. Ben gets to board in Past Exile to kill Scavenging Ooze. Linvala, Keeper of Silence, also shuts down Scavenging Ooze's ability. Abrupt Decay can do that. So he's got answers to Scavenging Ooze, but he doesn't have a whole lot of card advantage in his sideboard. I guess he has the 4th Eternal Witness.
Yeah, there's
which
an
he could
Eternal
bring
Witness sitting right there. Could possibly do some work right there. Still not a ton comparing the amount of discard and things that John is going to be trying to do against Ben.
And you see decks like Ben's kind of built to optimize for the combo a little bit more. 3 copies of Viscera Seer, 2 Maliras, 2 Anafenza, the Kintree Spirit. So old school. If you go back, in Modern a couple of years when you're looking at like more pod lists, they had cards like Voice of Resurgence, and they had fewer combo pieces, and these decks are a lot better at grinding out decks like Jund, which were much more played, and there were like Snapcaster Lightning Bolt decks that you had to grind out, whereas Ben is built to beat his opponent as quickly as possible, like through Eldrazi decks where you're just racing Reality Smasher. So he's got a lot more combo pieces which just aren't good against Jund. Jund has too many ways to break up the combo and too much disruption. You'd rather have cards like Voice of Resurgence. Instead, he's got extra Viscera Seers.
Right, and the Viscera Seers just die very quickly to anything John's playing. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, those old decks were mostly like Valley Creatures deck, right? Even if they didn't have Pod out at any given time, they just had these awesome Valley Creatures, and they just kept, playing the you can have the alternative route that's not even a Pod portion of it, or even a combo. You can completely board out of it and just like grind your opponent out.
Yeah, at a Grand Prix Minneapolis, I played Angel Pod, which was it didn't even have the Malira combo in it anymore. It was just trying to win off like Restoration Angels, Kitchen Finks, Pontiff, Redcap, just all the value cards, and that that sort of deck I thought was really good for that format. Whereas these decks are like way more combo oriented, which again makes sense for the
Makes
format
sense for
as a whole.
the metagame, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
But when you come across the at this point rare Jund deck, it makes things a lot tougher. And actually, looking at Ben's sideboarding, he's boarding out a bunch of combo pieces. You see a bunch of Maliras and Viscera Seers and even Noble Hierarchs, the smaller creatures, in his sideboard, probably in anticipation of cards like Anger of the Gods.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the same vein as like Splinter Twin had a very tough matchup against Jund because you try to go off, they just have so many ways to respond to what you're doing, then you just board out your combo. You're not going to do it. You're not going to get there.
Yeah.
We're going to take a look at Andrew Baeckstrom versus Wenzel Krautmann. We have a matchup of Elves versus Abs and Company.
Yeah. Fun fact: I played against Wenzel like in one of my second Pro Tour or something like that.
Mhm.
You know, over 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been around for a while.
That's very cool. So 2 mana Wall of Roots for Wenzel. Counter, Birds.
He's an old school German player. I know yesterday when he accidentally shuffled his deck when he was scrying.
Yeah.
Later, Kai Booty berated him, like sent him a
really?
message like, dude, tighten up, you're gonna win, but don't do that or
Don't
whatever.
do that.
Like, you know, he was just like, you know, making fun of him for doing that.
That's funny. So Elvish Archdruid for Baeckstrom. Nice Elf Lord. He's off to a good start. He's doing what he wants to do in this game.
And Andrew Baeckstrom is frequently referred to as BK, which is not confusing at all, given that Brian Cole and Brian Kibler are also referred to as BK.
I was committed to not calling him BK on stream and keeping things in order, but now that you've thrown it out there.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever called him Andrew, so.
Yeah, no, neither have I.
It's the constant struggle, right? When you have David Ochoa on screen, for example, I always call him Webb, because that's just what I've called him my entire life. But, you know, Andrew Baeckstrom is in fact the name that we've got on the screen here, and he has been doing well with this Elves deck. He's just another one of those Elves players who has a very good record this tournament, even though he is down a game right now.
Yeah, so Andrew Baeckstrom's a good friend of mine, and I was helping him test this week coming up to Detroit, and he was doing circles and circles around and like deciding what to do. He's actually, I think he's undefeated against Eldrazi today, or he might have lost just one. Currently sitting at 10-1, is doing pretty well, but he did circles with Affinity, then he was back on Elves, then he was back on, I think he was on Lantern, and then he went back to Elves, and yeah, he's doing pretty well with this Elves deck against the field so far.
And you know, getting Elvish Archdruid passed is not the most painful thing. Sure, you'd rather have the Archdruid, but getting a land is actually really big for Elves because it's such a mana-hungry deck, and every land it can help it cast its collected companies and lead the Stampedes.
So it looks like our main match is ready to go, so we'll head over there for now, and we'll see what happens with Andrew Baeckstrom versus Wenzel. Players are off to the races. Birds of Paradise off of a Horizon Canopy.
And that signifies that Ben has no other green sources in hand. It looks like a swamp is the last card there, and with 4 green cards. So, paying attention to what your opponent plays as their first land is pretty important. And Horizon Canopy is last on the list of green sources that you would play.
Yeah,
in turn one.
absolutely. It does. It's painful. So, oh no, we're knocking a deck over. There you go. All good. What is that last card at the end? Do you know?
It's a swamp.
All right.
So Inquisition can take any of these cards. Eternal Witness is generally a good pick because any card you take, Ben can just play a turn 2 Eternal Witness and get it back. So there's an advantage to taking Witness. And if you take a Finks, Ben can still just play the other Finks. So I would lean towards just taking Witness.
Yeah, I think he agrees with you. So down goes the Witness. Let's see if he found a green source.
Which, because it's an Overgrown Tomb, he's still opting not to play it yet, but yeah, it will mean that even if the bird dies, he's not going to have to take pain off Canopy every single turn.
Yeah, and Kitchen Fence gets to undo some of the damage that the Horizon Canopy has caused, which is nice.
See if John has a removal spell, there's some merit to just killing the birds, but if he has a Dark Confidant, I don't mind just playing it here either.
Gotta give points to John. His deck is beautiful. It's
Yeah.
all foiled out.
Tons of expeditions.
Yeah, all the
and
expeditions.
foil
Foil
fetch lands.
Inquisition. Foil Bob. Dark Confident. Ben Friedman, of course, a member of the East-West Bowl. He has 3 GP top 8s to his name, most recently at Richmond 2014.
Came within a match of top 8 in Pro Tour Magic 2015.
Oh, did he really?
He did. He played for top 8. I think even 2 rounds in a row, playing Black-White Obzedat, kind of like Devotion.
Was that at Oath of the Gatewatch Pro Tour? Or, sorry, which one did you say?
Magic 2015.
got it,
So the
got it.
one where both Owen and Huey top aided with that same deck. They were on different teams, but that deck did quite well that tournament.
Very cool. So Overgrown Tomb is a play for Ben. He is going to have to take some damage for that. Down to 18. Wall of Roots is a play for the turn.
And then one of the advantages of Wall is you can use the mana ability right away. So we're going to see Ben continue to curve out.
Yeah, so Finks number 2.
Actually, Ben had drawn pretty well. Drawing a Court of Calling is a nice follow-up to all of this, though.
Oh, Anger of the Gods is going to take care of all of that.
Yeah, that's a good reveal. So John will lose his Dark Confidant, but it already drew him a card. It's not clear if he has the second red source. That he may not. But if he does, then I like playing Anger of the Gods. It's so much safer to kill the birds and the 2 Finks while nothing else can happen here.
Yeah, so here we go. Anger of the Gods takes care of everything.
And again, it exiles, so those Finks, they're not coming back.
I think there's a Fiend Hunter for him.
It's a Fiend Hunter with flying. It's Linvala.
Oh, it's a Linvala.
Yeah, it looks like he might have swapped those two because Fiend Hunter is just too vulnerable to removal, and it doesn't actually play very well against Anger and Damnation, whereas Linvala shuts down Scavenging Ooze, but you're still not all that thrilled with playing a 4-mana 3/4 flyer against a deck with like Terminate and Liliana. It's like Overgrown Tomb?
I think so. So let's see. Thoughtseize for John to lead off the turn.
So Ben can cast a Court of Calling for 2 because Wall of Roots does double duty. That's one of the reasons you see those cards paired so frequently is that you can tap it for Court and put a counter on it. So looks like Ben is going to exercise the option of casting Court of Calling. Best value Chord for 2.
Yeah, what do you think he can chord here for?
I mean, he can get like a Spellskite or probably a Scavenging Ooze actually is the most effective 2-drop creature. Most of Ben's 2-drops are combo pieces like Malira or Anafenza that go well with other cards. Scavenging Ooze is pretty much the only one that does something on its own.
Yeah, so down goes the Linvala. It has to be discarded to Thoughtseize no matter what. And in comes Scavenging Ooze. Another Anger of the Gods.
Which now takes
out the Wall of Roots.
Yeah, that's absurd. So now, this is just like game 1. Ben's now on 3 cards in play, 3 lands in play, no cards in hand. I mean, John doesn't have tons of cards either. He's got the 4 lands and a card in his hand, or 2 cards in hand. But John's still up 3 cards here, 2 once Ben draws. But more importantly, Ben just has no resources and no good path to drawing a bunch of more cards.
Yeah, so John definitely executing its game plan to its fullest right here. Scavenging Ooze for John.
Yeah, just like last game, the follow-up Scavenging Ooze puts Ben on a pretty quick clock, and I think Ben's going to have a lot of trouble here. If he draws a Collected Company, then things get a little better for him. But the Murderous Redcap he has in hand just can't quite kill Scavenging Ooze thanks to that Overgrown Tomb, which means that John's going to have a little bit of trouble here.
Wow, so the Redcap is going to target that Scavenging Ooze, but he does get to eat a creature out of the yard.
I think he just pointed it straight at John because
did he?
John's at a really low life total. He's actually done a ton of damage to himself between Thoughtseizes, Dark Confidant, Fetch Lands, taking a Finks hit. But Scavenging Ooze gains enough life that I think that John's going to be in okay shape. There's at least an Eternal Witness still to eat.
Yeah, interesting enough, he can exile some of the creatures that have died to the Anger because they're exiled. So second Scavenging Ooze for John. He would have been able to get a lot of life, but it's much better to have those Finks out of commission.
So it's interesting whether you attack with the red cap or not. So John can Ooze Witness going up to a 3/3 and then go to 4 and then still able to sack his fetch land and get a untapped green source and then ooze the red cap. So that probably does not work out all that well.
I think he's considering maybe cracking the Horizon Canopy. There
Ben
he goes.
Ben also wouldn't mind one of those oozes becoming a 4/4 since he has a big game hunter, it looks like, in his hand. But it's possible that John just wants to wait on that. John does have to manage his life total and how many creatures in the graveyard and which ooze eats them now. This is a bit of tricky bookkeeping because you want both oozes to be threats, but you need to leave up green mana. You also, I don't know if he's playing around Big Game Hunter. He hasn't seen it from Ben, though he probably knows of its existence.
Yeah.
So right now both oozes are 3/3s. I'm not saying it's right to play around Big Game Hunter because that's also a card Ben could have boarded out, though I guess the fact that it kills Tarmogoyf makes that unlikely. John probably not in a position to attack with both oozes here.
Oh, he did find a Raging Ravine, though. That is going to be an attacker at some point in this game.
Yeah, I would expect to see that I guess crunch in next turn.
So in comes the Scavenging Ooze. Ben's going to go ahead and take it, putting him down to 11. His draw is an Overgrown Tomb. Or it's a Verdant Catacombs, actually.
I don't know how you keep getting those mixed up.
Yo, they look similar.
Oh, yeah, right. That's because they both look exactly the same.
Kitchen Finks for Ben.
And now Ooze is just on like cleanup detail, just getting rid of random spells in Ben's graveyard, just because there's no reason not to.
Ben, he has Eternal Witness in his deck, so
Yeah.
just taking care of everything in there. Might as well, right?
Yeah, you got mana to spare.
So Raging Ravine is going to attack, get a counter.
And normally, you might see Ben be like, wow, I'll trade both my creatures for Raging Ravine, they'll come back. But it turns out Scavenging Ooze just shutting Ben's deck down here.
And a second Raging Ravine there for John.
Ben's definitely not out of this. With John only at 3 life, if Ben draws like a Collected Company, then he could put enough pressure into play to potentially like end of turn company for 2 more creatures, attack with 4 creatures. Because John is kind of tapping out for Raging Ravines every turn and doesn't have any cards in his hand. But Ben needs to find these things.
He found a land, and he still has a Big Game Hunter.
Yeah.
Attack with Kitchen Finks.
This is good because this forces a trade with the Ooze. And actually, this is going to work out really well for Ben because the other Ooze is going to eat the Finks to stop it from coming back, which means Ben set up John to lose his Ooze to Big Game Hunter.
Yeah, so Big Game Hunter now for Ben is going to take care of that Ooze.
And John looking to gain a life off his own Ooze here,
and
potentially.
There you go. So Ooze is down. Yeah, land for Ben and a pass. So now there's only a Raging Ravine for John.
Though Raging Ravine is a good defensive measure. John doesn't have to attack here. He can just keep his Ravine back. He's a few mana short of activating both Ravines. One trick that comes up every now and then is you can double activate Ravine. You can pay 8 mana, and then it just has 2 instances of when this attacks, get a ++1 counter.
Oh, that's very neat.
Saw that all the time back when Raging Ravine was in Standard, but
when it was all the rage?
Yeah, yes.
Dark Confident for John. This could get spicy.
Yeah, Dark Confidant 5. I love this. This is great. The best kind of Dark Confidant's the exciting Dark Confidant. So does Ben have incentive to attack? Given that Raging Ravine's a 4/4 blocker, if Ben attacks with Red Cap, let's just say that one, Ravine blocks it, Red Cap comes back and kills Dark Confidant, Ben may be happier just keeping Red Cap back and hoping John dies to his own Dark Confidant. Ben's hoping Goblin Dark Dweller is the top card of John's deck here.
Yes. And that can entirely happen.
Yeah. And Ben also has or John has also a lot of 3 mana creatures, or cards like Liliana.
Pass back, reveal, Confidant 2, putting John down to 3. It's an Abrupt Decay. And a regular draw.
So John in an interesting spot now. He still doesn't likely want to attack with Raging Ravine. Ben, getting
exciting.
But that Abrupt Decay means that John, if he wants, he can decay his own Dark Confidant. He can pull the trigger that way, and stop spinning the dice if he feels like he can afford to lose an Abrupt Decay.
Then at that point, you just lost 2 life to kill your own Dark Confidant.
Yeah, you did get a blocker for a turn and draw an extra card.
He wants to live on the edge. Down goes a Big Game Hunter.
And John still can't attack with both here because Red Cap comes back. Well, I guess Red Cap could block Ravine, come back as a 1/1, shoot John to 2, attack John down to 1, and John have to flip a land. But John could also just leave Dark Confidant back and attack with just Raging Ravine. And then Ben can block and shoot John down to 2 and have a 1/1 Red Cap into play. That seems like it's got to be Ben's highest chance of winning here. You can come back as a 1/1 and kill the Dark Confidant, but if you block and shoot John down to 2, then there's just a lot more outs.
All right, so he's going to do exactly that. Red Cap in front of the Raging Ravine. It comes back, hits John down.
And now Ben has to decide if he wants to sack Verdant Catacombs, because he can go to 6, which means that Raging Ravine will be lethal next turn by itself. So Ben also has incentive to not sacrifice his Catacombs, even though it will thin his deck a little bit.
I think in this point, since it changes the clock, he probably just doesn't want to do it.
Agreed.
There you go.
All
Birds
right.
of Paradise. All right, here we go. Get ready. Let's go. Oh, it was a land. I think that was a Goyf.
Yeah, so that's not a card that can get rid of Dark Confidant. John's going to have to survive another Dark Confidant flip here. That Raging Ravine's going to come in. It's going to get chumped. John's still at 2.
Oh, exciting Dark Confidant is best confidant.
Oh, yeah.
So in come the boys.
And Ben definitely not going to trade off for that Dark Confidant.
Nope. Birds of Paradise under the buzz. Takes 2 from Dark Confidant. 2 more for John. I think it's a... I think he drew
his last card.
Oh, is it really? Yeah, no, he
probably shouldn't cast that one is my guess.
So Tarmogoyf for John.
And now Ben may actually want to sack the fetch, because now he's in a position where either Tarmogoyf or Raging Ravine are both lethal, so he just needs to draw a blocker, so the extra life isn't going to matter.
He agrees with you.
I like how both players have played this game. I think that...
oh, he took a look at the top card just to see what would have happened.
It looked like a Windswept Teeth? Is that what
it was a Windswept Teeth.
Good fetch then.
Yeah.
Good fetch.
All right, so
Ben, first of all, gets the first crack at things. If Ben draws another blocker, he can buy himself another turn. If Ben misses on blockers, John can still flip any 2-cost or greater card at our Confidant. It'd be cool if Ben had a Restoration Angel and could just flicker his red cap to finish things off, but I'm actually kind of happier that we're going to see another Dark Confidant flip.
It's been a very exciting game. You flipped... You flipped an Emrakul to a Dark Confidant at some point, haven't you?
Yeah, that may be accurate. All right, that was a Plains. It's all on this.
All right, here we go. On tab. Dark Confidant trigger. Let's go. Ah!
Kalidas trader to get, and that'll get John, and it looks like we're going to get a game 3.
Wow. and both players are laughing about it, too. That was a...
Yeah, how could you not like that? This is just, pure magic.
Pure magic.
Flipping cards off the top and seeing whether you win or lose.
That was great. That was great. How many live draws did he have to actually... I mean, anything over 2 was dead, but...
So
it's like most of his deck, right?
Yeah, it was like 3, 4, 7... Probably in the vicinity of 15-ish cards that would kill John.
Maybe this is why you shouldn't put cards that have the word traitor in them in your deck.
That was a very flavorful way to end things.
Taking a look at these players' sideboards, is there anything that they would change now that they're going to Game 3, you think?
Do you think John will lower his curve so he doesn't die to Dark Confidant? I think that is unlikely to happen. Ben now has confirmed that he's playing against Anger of the Gods, so if he didn't have Burnt and Forge Tender in his deck, he's more likely to bring it in.
Yeah. That's pretty much the only thing, though, right? The Big Game Hunters still saying.
Yeah, Big Game Hunters still seem fine.
Burnt and Forge Tender definitely seems appealing now, especially if we can chord for it.
It looks like Ben's considering Kosali Pride Mage as just like a value creature, but I don't really like small creatures that die to anger that don't really advance your game plan otherwise. And of course, John, his deck did what he was trying to do. He got Ben down to no resources, and he was, I think, forced to play the Dark Confidant. I do agree with his decision to play Dark Confidant, and it happened to work out for a few turns until the very last turn there.
I know, it was sweet. It was an exciting game of Magic, and it was the right play too. So, gotta love those games. How did you end up with an Emrakul in the Bob deck?
All right, look. It was in a Magic Online Cube draft.
All right.
And I had a blue-black reanimator deck that had multiple ways to reanimate at instant speed. So
was it called Maximum Greed deck?
No. I think it was correct. And Emrakul was really good in the deck, but Dark Confidant was also really good. My deck was very low curve with some exceptions. And I was at 16 life, and I flipped Emrakul to Dark Confidant, going down to 1 life. And I was still going to win the game that turn, except my only black source was Underground River, the blue-black pain land. There was just no justice. Yeah.
That's funny. Did you win the match?
I did not.
Oh.
So I did, speaking of Dark Confidant and Giant Creatures, I did win a vintage tournament where in one of my matches, I was playing a Storm deck, and I had Dark Confidant. And at back-to-back turns, I flipped Mind's Desire, losing 6 life, and Darksteel Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
This was long enough ago that Blightsteel didn't even exist.
All right.
So I flipped Mind's Desire and Darksteel Colossus, losing 17 life over 2 turns. But I still actually won that match. I was able to Tendrils of Agony. So Dark Confidant, powerful card. And, I'm okay with having expensive cards in my deck, even though I'm playing Dark Confidant. Though the choice to play Dark Confidant in John's deck, I think that impacts the fact that he doesn't have Tasigur. That's a card that a lot of Jund decks do play as like, a potential big threat. And because he's already got Goblin Dark Dwellers and Kalidas, I could definitely see him opting not to play Tasigur.
Yeah, it's a little scary to run cards like Dark Dwellers in your Dark Confidant deck, but Dark Dwellers is so good in this deck too. And there's only like 1 copy of it, right?
There's only 1 copy, but it even gets better post-board. Dark Dwellers, Anger of the Gods. And both players going down to 6, which I think favors the Jund deck, because the Jund deck has cheaper spells. It has 2 mana draw engine in Dark Confidant, And some of Ben's cards, like Court of Calling and even Collected Company, cost 4+ mana.
Yeah.
So he needs more resources to play those, though he will get an advantage once he's able to do so. Like, if John can mulligan to 2 lands, Dark Confidant, in either Inquisition, Thoughtseize, or Lightning Bolt, like, that's just a great draw. And that only takes 4 cards total. So he's not really looking for much, whereas Ben needs to hit, like, 2 lands, a 1-drop Accelerant, and then something to play. And even then, that gets trumped by John's hand there.
I mean, that's kind of the problem you have sometimes with these combo decks and they're trying to assemble. And in this case, he's not even trying to combo out, but then he just has, like, okay creatures, you know?
Yeah, Ben has boarded into basically Obzon Company value. He's not really trying to combo anymore. It's almost like the mirror in the sense that both players are just playing, grindy 2-for-1s.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like our players are ready to go.
Both on 6
Both
here.
on 6, yeah. Oh, there's Brenton Forge Thunder for Ben. You are correct. I think Ben's good. They are both good. We both want to keep. Scry to the top for John. To the bottom for Ben.
And I can really sympathize with Ben here. When I played against Paul Chian in the Pro Tour, the last Pro Tour, both games I mulliganed to 6 and scried to the bottom. if you can believe that.
And then savagely lost or savagely beaten?
No, he defeated me. I explained, right? I scried to the bottom both times.
Oh,
after
sure. You could
mulliganing.
not possibly win after that.
Right.
Merge Flats for Ben. Let's see, 2 mana, and down comes Inquisition of Kozilek.
Yeah, floating potentially a black for a second go because that's a Twilight Mire, but
Oh, yeah.
we'll see. What does Ben have to work with? This is quite the mixed bag. This is a Collected Company, a Wall of Roots, and 3 1 of or two in the case of Big Game Hunter, 2 of like tutor targets. Ben getting a presumably Temple Garden in the midst of all this. So Wall of Roots is kind of like the obvious, like, if I take this, you can't cast any spells, and actually Ben can literally not cast any spells except Forge Tender if Wall of Roots gets taken. Company, of course, a bigger threat, but you can't Inquisition Company. That's one of the drawbacks.
Yeah, so it looks like he agrees with you. He's going to take Wall of Roots down, and now Ben is locked into deploying just one thing at a time. Brenton Forge Thunder down for Ben.
He's increasing the pressure. He's got a 1/1.
Yeah.
Ooh, John's got a Grim Lavamancer.
Ooh, love a man.
But no third land. So both players pretty resource light here.
Yeah, and a Court of Calling for Ben. Not exactly a land either.
Looks like he picked up a Horizon Canopy last turn, which was a good draw.
Oh, that's true.
Now the Canopy can let Ben, if he wants, cast Fiend Hunter on the Grim Lavamancer, attack for 1. The Forge Tender is immune to the Lavamancer, and Fiend Hunter actually doesn't care about it either, so it's possible that the Ben just doesn't care about Grim Lavamancer here.
Let's see, no play for Ben. I'm going to pass back to John for now.
And Ben choosing not to attack for 1 because he thinks trading 1 for 1 just is not to his advantage here.
Yeah, so Kitchen Finks, gain 2 life.
The Finks is on the other side this time. Birds of Paradise, not a bad draw. It does enable the court and it enables the company. Ben would much rather have just drawn a land. If Ben can cast Collected Company here, then he's going to be in pretty good shape because John right now just has the Kitchen Finks in play, though. If John starts drawing lands, which it looks like he is, he drew a Wooded Foothills, then he's actually going to be able to start deploying threats and start answering Ben's cards.
Mm-hmm. And that Kitchen Finks coming in from the sideboard, just a 1 of.
Yeah, it's a solid option if you think that the game's going to be grindy and they're going to have Kitchen Finks that are annoying to deal with. You'd rather have a Kitchen Finks than just a removal spell if you're trying to deal with a Kitchen Finks.
Mm-hmm. The fetcher is nice too. He starts getting some fuel in there for Lavamancer.
And John has incentive to get rid of this Birds of Paradise. He does not want Ben casting that Collected Company that he knows about. And this is why, from the Jun side, I really, detest having Thoughtseize in my deck, but you still need it. Because John would love to draw Thoughtseize here and take away that company, but late game Thoughtseize is like we saw last game. He drew a Thoughtseize.
And he's at 2 life.
And even it not being at 2, it's still problematic. Oh, wow.
Golgari Charm for John is going to take care of most of the creatures in the battlefield right now.
Yeah, so it looks like...
including his own Lavamancer, but in comes the Kitchen Finks, just for 2 this time.
Yeah, it looks like Lavamancer went to the face, and Ben hit exactly what he wanted, so now he can cast Collected Company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Golgari Charm doing a lot of work against X1s.
Yeah, it's the kind of situational card that if you're John, you board it in but don't feel great about. It's fine. You will have boards like that where you kill multiple creatures, but that was a 2-for-2. That wasn't exciting, but John really wanted to make sure company didn't get cast, and he wanted to get Burnt and Forge Tender off the board because he has like a lightning bolt in his hand and could potentially hit Anger of the Gods.
So Ben's going to respond to this Kitchen Finks attack with a Collected Company. Let's see what he finds at the top of his deck.
So what's his optimal here? Probably like Finks Witness, getting back Collected Company. That sounds pretty good.
That would be amazing. Is there any desire to bring back Burnt and Forge Tender, perhaps?
Yeah, it would let you protect from Anger of the Gods, but for the most part, I'd rather just keep casting Collected Companies. Well, there's a Witness.
And a bird. Another Witness.
Well, if you have 2 Witnesses, I like your play of getting back Forge Tender along with getting back Collected Company. Can't hit Linvala, though there's also a Finks. So Ben just has all the best options in the world. So he of his best cards, he sees multiple copies of Witness and he sees Kitchen Finks. So yeah, I just like getting back Company, playing a Finks, gaining 2. You could even trade off Finks here if you want, but this is kind of this is the plan. Well, plan B in some matchups, plan A in this matchup, which is just casting companies for value. I love playing the combo decks that can also just get good value in a normal game, even when you're not comboing.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him board out several pieces of his combo, and here he's just playing good value creatures, getting card advantage, playing an honest game. Ooh.
Oh.
Knight of Souls Betrayal.
So John came prepared for X1s. Golgari Charm and Knight of Souls Betrayal combined. I wonder how many Dark Confidence he has in his deck, because he still has the Grim Lavamancer. Figuring that he's got 1 Knight of Souls Betrayal, 1 Golgari Charm. If he draws Lavamancer without those, it's good, and if he draws them both together, that's a little unfortunate, and that is what happened.
Yeah.
So it's possible that John just has Dark Confidence in his deck and still just likes Knight of Souls Betrayal, but yeah, Ben doesn't love seeing that card.
Well, the interesting thing is he gets to choose when to deploy these things, so even if there is a little bit of a nombo in that sense, he can choose when to fire it off and then follow up with a Dark Confident if he wants.
Yeah, if he wants to play Knight of Souls Betrayal to kill a bunch of stuff, he can, and and then maybe he can't play Confidants anymore, but it's possible also Ben blows up the Knight of Souls Betrayal. It's the fact that John gets to decide when Knight of Souls Betrayal comes out is a big advantage. That was not the most powerful company.
No, it was not.
Hit Witness, which died to the Knight of Souls Betrayal,
True.
then gives back the company.
But he does get the company back, so not all is lost.
So now I wonder if Ben does have this Qasali Pride Mage in his deck. I wonder if he knew that John had Knight of Souls Betrayal.
He anticipated that it was bringing in?
Yeah, that would be interesting. Because if Ben does not have Qasali Pride Mage, he just got no way to get rid of Knight of Souls Betrayal, which means his offense is going to be limited to any copies of Malira he has, Kitchen Finks, Unoffensive Kintree Spirit, which I can't imagine he's got lots of. All the rest of his creatures die to it. The 1 Murderous Redcap, which is at the bottom of his library now.
Well, Ben is an experienced player with his deck, so it's not unreasonable to expect something like Knight of Souls Betrayal from John, in which case the Qasali Pride Mage looks pretty appealing.
Yeah, the problem being that Qasali Pride Mage is kind of a blank when Knight of Souls Betrayal isn't in play, just because it's a 2/2 Exalted for 2.
Oh, yeah, that dies to Anger of the Gods.
Yeah, it dies to Anger, Lightning Bolt, all those things. So Ben...
Here we go, Collected Company.
I don't think I've ever seen this many companies cast and the game not be over, but this game's very much not over. In fact, Ben hit an Offensa.
And that's it? Oh, man.
So one of Ben's most important cards right now, given the Knight of Souls Betrayal, is that Gavany Township that's sitting there that, he can pay 4 and tap it and put a +1/+1 count on all his creatures. It means that even if he gets a small Inoffensa or a small red cap into play, he can start slowly using that Township to get them into a respectable size.
The Bolt is going to take care of that Inoffensa, though, so now he doesn't even have the choice of starting making this Inoffensa a little bit larger. And the nice thing about Inoffensa, too, with other creatures, it can help them get out of that Knight of Souls Betrayal dampening...
the effect of Knight of Souls Betrayal, kind of like Dampening Pulse, which we've seen in actually this latest draft format, though the additional -1 toughness makes it a lot harsher. Yeah, Inoffensa, I could actually even see Ben, spamming creatures that die just to keep triggering Inoffensa. So Ben has a Chord of Calling. He has that chord that he drew. He can chord for 5 right now, which gets him any card in his deck. Here's where, if he was playing the Archangel of Thune version, he would have something gigantic to go get. Right now, the best card he can get is a Linvala or a Red Cap. Those are, or rather, the most expensive cards he can get.
Yeah, so Raging Ravine going to rumble right here. Here comes an attack and a counter as well.
So the counter... kind of negating the Knight of Souls Betrayal. So the Ravine's a 3/3. It'll soon be bigger and bigger. Ravine is a good way to win through a Knight of Souls Betrayal. Ben deciding if there's an advantageous card to company for. He can company for, let's see, he's got 2 big game hunters. If he has the second one in his deck, 'cause he has one in his hand. If he has the second one in his deck, at some point he can, cord for big game hunter while the Ravine's a 4/4. It's not
it's
yet.
animated, yeah.
It's
and
not
try
yet.
to take it down.
But yeah, soon he will be able to. Problem is he'll lose the big game hunter to Knight of Souls Betrayal. So
But it is a removal spell taking care of currently what's his real clock. So it is a significant way to stay in the game / try to claw back in the game. Things obviously not looking too good for Ben right here.
no, I think that he has the advantage of being able to cord for something, but whether he gets Finks or Redcap or Linvala, he doesn't have anything too big, and the Knight of Souls Betrayal is just going to, even with the Township, is going to make it quite difficult for him to mount an offense, because what Knight of Souls Betrayal does, it means so many cards in his deck just don't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because normally, let's say the Betrayal wasn't there, Ben would have had multiple Eternal Witnesses out, and between the Township and the Witnesses, John would have been under a lot of pressure. Now there's just nothing in play, and John can use his removal spells on the few creatures that remain standing.
I was looking at his deck while he was thumbing through it right now, and I didn't see the Caselli Pride Mage. Or I didn't get a glimpse of it, at least. So I think he's playing this, yeah.
Yeah, it's possible that he just does not have access to a Pride Mage here, and it's kind of unfortunate because you hate having dead cards in your deck. It really does cost you, but having just one Pride Mage would have given Ben access to many copies thanks to Court of Calling, and I'm sure he would love to be able to kill that Knight of Souls Betrayal.
All right, 3 mana 4. Court of Calling.
So does he have the Pride Mage?
I was looking through his deck while he was thumbing through it. I didn't see it. Oh, it's a Scavenging Ooze.
All right, that's another threat that can get pretty big. It's a 1/1 now, and there's tons of creatures in the graveyard. So this is potentially like a 7/7, 8/8.
That also makes me think that he just does not have the Caselli Pride Mage, like, in the deck, period. Unless he wants to set up a turn and he just wants to crack Cries and Canopy at the end of this turn, which I could see.
Yeah,
I feel like he would have just gotten rid of it, though.
Yeah.
If he could.
I wonder if he's worried about, well, Lightning Bolt still gets it. No, he hadn't used the Wall Root. So yeah, Ben left 3 green there untapped, specifically playing around Lightning Bolt, which is a wise move. Ben cannot afford to have his good threats die here. He has just so few ways to close out this game.
Mm-hmm. So there goes Lavamancer. More counters and Scavenging Ooze, making it a 4/4. Well, actually a 3/3 because of Knights of Soul Betrayal.
You know what I love while doing coverage?
Yes.
I love Wall of Roots having -0/-1 counters and +1/+1 counters.
Yeah, we had like the little dice. Well, this is the first Abs and Company deck you've done on coverage, right?
Yeah, unfortunately I got to miss all the Abs on Companies. You and Marshall kind of like hogged them all.
We hogged
through,
them all. We were just so greedy. We wanted all the Abs and Company decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're using little dice on like the corner of the card to represent the Wall of Roots counters.
Because, normally under Magic rules, -1/-1 counters and +1/+1 counters cancel out. Wall of Roots is an exception because it uses -0/-1 counters, which, not found on very many cards.
Yeah.
So Ooze got up to a 6/6, but a 5/5 off Knight of Souls Betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben just hoping he can carry this Ooze to victory, and, he's got a chance of it.
Are there any more creatures in the graveyard that you've seen? I think there should be a good amount for
Yeah,
Ben.
Ben has just a ton of random creatures.
Oh, but he finds a Collected Company off the top. Bird, Eternal Witness, Linvala that can't be a target, and an Offenza.
It's not unreasonable to get Witness and Offenza, or Witness something else, and Witness back a Witness. The reason to do that is if Scavenging Ooze dies, you then just have a Witness in your hand to get it back. And that's a good bit of resilience.
I like that.
Ben could also just like Witness back Company or something like that, but I really don't hate the idea of doing that. An Offenza plus Finks is looking like what Ben might do, and then you end up with a 1/1 plus a 2/1 plus you get to bolster.
How could you give up that value, though? There comes the Witness, I think. Oh, nope. Hand Offense and Kitchen Finks are the choices for Ben. Putting Ben up to 16.
And there we go.
There we go. So here are the
finally.
counters.
we got the counters going.
Yeah, there you go. There's a little dice. A Court of Calling off the top for Ben.
And Ben really plumbing the depths of his deck here. He's gotten to play multiple chords. He doesn't have that many cards in his deck that are super relevant, but he gets to find them. He's got chord. He's got Collected Company. He's got An Offenza in play, and he's actually looks like he's attacking Kitchen Finks into that Raging Ravine. not super worried about John activating it.
How many collected companies have been cast in this game?
I believe
Luis?
4.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think the same copy got cast multiple times, and then this copy here. So I think it was something like three. The first one got cast 3 times, and then this one got cast, or it was like 2, 1, 1. Either way, there were I believe 4 collected companies.
All right, so John thinking about activating this ravine right here.
And if he's got nothing better to do,
3,
it is a good activation.
There goes the ravine blocking that kitchen finks.
So Ravine's essentially a 3/3. Finks is a 2/1, but it looks like Ben is going to use potentially the township. Ben doing Wall of Roots counter.
Wall of Roots counter, it's difficult. The struggle is real. All right, so here comes Gavany Township, it seems. Yeah, so a counter on everybody.
So the Ravine and the Finks trade because now the Finks is a 3/2 and the Ravine's a 3/3. Finks will come back as a 2/1. It'll bolster again. That Fink, well, doesn't have to come back. That's it's kind of on Ben.
Unfortunate, yeah, that kitchen fink should still be in play, but probably doesn't need it at this point. He's getting, Scavenging Ooze is actually going to do some work for John.
Dueling oozes is always an entertaining time because when one player targets the creature in the graveyard, the other player can then respond. So you really have to balance how much green mana you have and what you want to use it for. You actually kind of get into this state where neither player wants to tap any mana because they can you don't want to be the first person, you want to be the second person. So, but if John has a bunch of green sources on tap now and Ben only has 2 plus the Wall of Roots, it's possible that John wants to start this battle on his turn.
Especially with the number of creatures that we know are in Ben's graveyard, this is a good opportunity. And
Oh,
knowing that Ben has Eternal Witnesses in his deck. Although he's already gone through a couple of those.
So the Finks could have come back and died to the Knight of Souls Betrayal, but it would have triggered Anafenza and gained 2 life. So it's not clear if which of those things did end up happening. It looks like maybe the wall got another counter off the deal. One of the advantages of playing Twilight Mire in this Jund deck is it makes it so one of the black-red lands taps for 2 green because you can filter the black into double green.
Yeah.
Which means that John's Ooze is a little more effective than it might appear otherwise. So his 4 or 5 untapped mana is actually still 5 green sources, I believe.
All right, so in comes the Scavenging Ooze. Right, are we going to see battling oozes?
I would imagine so. I mean, especially since John put his in harm's way, which he can't possibly win this fight. So maybe he just wants to reduce the future efficacy of Ben's Ooze.
So Ben also activating his Ooze.
So they're going to have battle over Anafenza Kintree Spirit, it looks like, the one in the graveyard.
So then Ben battles again. All right, John battles again.
All right.
Yeah, Ben lets it happen. So John's Scavenging Ooze now at 3/3, 2/2 actually with the souls, and there he goes.
Still dies to the bigger Ooze.
So untap for John. Ben still has Gavany Township available to him. Tarmogoyf is pretty large in this spot.
Still much smaller than the Ooze. My guess is that Tarmogoyf is a instant land creature, and I actually don't know if there are any sorceries. So it might only be a 3/4 now 2/3 because of Knight of Souls Betrayal. Wall of Roots just.
So here come counters for everybody on Ben's team.
So that Wall of Roots is a 4/9 with a -0, so a 4/3 Wall of Roots. It's hard to get Wall of Roots to a 4/3. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, so the Tarmogoyf is actually a 3/4 with a -1/-1 on it because of Knight.
Yeah, no sorceries present yet.
All right, Scavenging Ooze rumbles. So it looks like Quarter Calling, Fiend Hunter, Big Game Hunter, and a red cap in hand for Ben.
Ben looks like he's in pretty good control this game. Even if the Scavenging Ooze dies, I think Ben might be in okay shape. That Anafenza is just getting bigger and bigger thanks to Gavany Township. And I think that John's going to have trouble closing out this game. He just needs to draw multiple removal spells in a row even to have a chance.
So John draws a land off the top, immediately plays it. Ben's going to crack his Windswept Heath.
You can tell Ben's been doing fairly well because he has a Horizon Canopy that's been in play for a while. He's not
He hasn't even cracked it.
Yeah, he's not even come close to cracking
I mean, he doesn't have so many resources in hand. He doesn't really need it.
Yeah, he's got so much in play. He's got Township. He's using it every turn. Like, I do love Obs on decks with Gavany Township. Gavany Township is a very fun card to win games with.
Have you played with Gavany Township much?
I have. I used to play Birthing Pod a lot.
All right.
And I played.
How sad were you when it was banned?
I enjoyed playing it. I wish it had remained, but I did think it was too good. If I play the same deck in a bunch of tournaments in a row, there's like a decent chance that I think it's just the best deck and is very, very good. So I played Birthing Pod to a top 8 at Grand Prix Richmond and to a top 16 in Grand Prix Minneapolis. I actually lost my last round to Jund
To Jund?
Yeah, in opposite fashion of what was going on here. I got completely destroyed. So
Yeah, there was some Junsters there.
I don't know if that's how it works. So Ben deciding he's got multiple things he can use mana on. He's got Cord, he's got Township, he's got Horizon Canopy, he's got Scavenging Ooze. And how am I going to best use my mana to get full advantage of this situation?
Yeah, this time he did decide to crack that Canopy. He is activating the Township right now. Counters on everybody.
Right, small dice going up, big dice also going up.
Yeah, when you get to the point where that Scavenging Ooze, it needs 2 dice, it's getting pretty large. All right. Draw, looks like he drew a Collected Company.
I just want to see Ben break the record for collected companies this weekend. I don't know what the most we've seen is.
I mean, he's at what, 5 now?
I think if he casts this, it will be 5. I don't know if he's going to get a chance to. He might win the game before that happens, which is kind of unfortunate.
All right, here comes Raging Ravine. Oh, there you go. Path to Exile takes care of that Raging Ravine, and Ben wins the match 2-1 against John Delano. Abs and Company moves on to 12-0. Both of these players sitting in a great spot to make an awesome run this weekend.
Yeah, and that was an awesome match. I really enjoyed watching this long, in-depth game with a lot of good counterplay.
Yeah, and that'll do it for round 12 from Detroit. This is Gabby Sparts and Luis Scott Vargas.
Qualify for the next Pro Tour on Magic Online. Go 5-0 or 4-1 in a preliminary to advance to the finals. You can see the full schedule at mtgo.com.
Whether riding the bus or waiting for the GP finals to begin, Magic Duels is a great way to hone your skills and try new strategies. Featuring hundreds of earnable cards from Magic's latest sets and virtually unlimited AI and online opponents. Start playing Magic Duels for free on iPhone, iPad, Xbox One, and Steam.
Welcome back. If you've been with us this weekend,